Hello, gaming buddies. It's winter in Finland with an RPG topic, uh, some general advice. This came to mind the day before yesterday, I think it was, when I was chatting in Skype with Jonas, alias Hammered, and he wanted to know if I knew any suitable artists or bands that he could use in his game where he wanted to introduce this race and have a very thematic sort of music for them that this sort of brings alive their culture and stuff like this. Uh, so, got me thinking about music in role playing games. Now, I don't think I've seen any videos that, at least recently, that have dealt with this subject. So, why not make my own? This is something that I've been doing for a very long time, using music, and yeah, I'd say that right now it has become an important part of all of my gaming sessions. Because, okay, let's start with why. Why should one use music? Well, first off, if you pick something that fits the genre of game you're running, then it certainly sets the mood. Even before the play starts, certain musical pieces can be highly evocative, so that when you start describing things, uh, the players are sort of already in tune with the feel you're going after. And after several gaming sessions, what you'll find is that sounds engage memory in a very neat way. Um, and by playing the same type of music or the same tracks can help players adjust their thinking to what could be called a player character mode, where they get in character. And the same goes for the game master. When you hear that familiar music, you are reminded of all those notes you made, what happened last time. You know, it helps even there, even outside just the mood. And of course, in those moments when the gaming table goes silent for a while, it helps that there's something there. Um, I run with pretty big groups of players, so that almost never happens. But you know, um, whatever works for your group. But uh, so that's the why, at least for me. Now, couple of things to consider when you use music in pen and paper RPGs. Stuff that immediately came up when I was talking to Jonas. He said, well, he's been playing mostly online these games, and of course, you can't use music when you're playing through Skype or Google. I mean, you're already sort of hindered because you're using a microphone and a camera, and there's already a barrier, and having music in the background would be just too much to follow the conversation. But that's first off. But if you're playing around the table like us normal people, hehe, uh, first off, don't use tracks with lyrics. No words, no additional words from the background. Uh, they are a distraction. Maybe if it's a song that you want to play at the very beginning of the session or at the very end of the session where there's no real role-playing going on anymore. Yeah, it could work like in my couple of times I did for certain scenes in Vampire, where I played Echo and the Bodyman's Killing Moon at the very end of the session to sort of bring home this situation, but I would never use it in the middle of the normal game. So, first off, no lyrics. Second, volume. Now, this is pretty obvious, but it can go unnoticed by some folks out there. Volume should be low enough so that everyone around the gaming table can hear each other clearly. And if you have a case where some player or the game master their voice is too quiet, then they should be seated in such a way that they are sort of closest to everyone else, sort of in center place. And yeah, volume should also be looked at when you're preparing for it. Like some albums might have not only very in tempo the songs, but they might have different volume levels as well. So watch out for that. If one song comes in like very quiet, but the next one is like huge drum solo at the beginning, maybe not use that track at all. And yeah, then moving on to something that is kind of I have a bit mixed feelings about, but this can work and can be harmful to the game actually. Using songs and albums that are instantly recognizable. I tend not to use recognizable music at all. In some cases, it works. Like if you're playing a game that is very well known, its setting and its stories are well known. Like, let's say you're playing like Savage Worlds, where it's basically you're running Indiana Jones, and you start off the game with the Indiana Jones theme song. That's great, works perfect, but you shouldn't use it constantly, even those soundtracks, during the game. Same goes for Star Wars. Starting a game with the Imperial March as the player characters are in their rebellion cruiser being chased by an Imperial destroyer, great, works wonderfully, but do not use those tracks during the game. Here's why. Because they are so recognizable, they already have these mysterious ties between sound, music, and memories. So the players might hear Imperial March during the game, and they're playing their character and conversing with others, but instead of thinking about the other character they're supposed to be hanging out with, they're thinking Han Solo, they're thinking Darth Vader. It's again another distraction. Now, it's not as serious, I think, as the lyrics distraction, but again, this is one of the minor niggles I have with recognizable songs. Sometimes you can just discuss with people, like I've used certain tracks from the God of War soundtracks in my fantasy games for when the guys are fighting stuff. And I asked a couple of the guys that have played those games, like, is it okay if I use these? I mean, is it too much of a distraction then? they didn't complain, so I've used them. But again, it's can be pretty tough to find music that's not recognized by anyone but still fits the game. So depends on what kind of game you're running, of course. And certainly, jumping on to a whole different piece of advice, when using albums, take out the songs that don't fit. Let's say like you're using some kind of folk music in the background. Uh, some songs are just way too fast in the tempo, stuff like this, and you want to evoke sort of Renaissance feel, trekking across the Appalachians, whatever. Take out the songs that don't fit what you're going after. This is, of course, very easy on a computer. You just pick, okay, don't play this one, and so on. That's because if the music switches moods drastically, it's again a distraction. And do not use certain albums too much, or at least if you do, use them with a shuffle function so that the tracks come in random order. Because while it can be great to have certain albums tied to certain types of games, this also can become a problem where, I mean, you as the game master will sense it as well. You will get the feeling that, okay, we have heard this album way too many times now, it's time for a change. But also you should prepare not just like albums, but different playlists. Have one for fighting, have one for roaming around the town, or like in my current Pathfinder game, I have actually a playlist for seafaring, when the guys leave port and go to the Great White Blue. It again helps to differentiate between the moods of different situations, and absolutely when you're fighting, whatever game you're fighting in, it helps that there's this contrast between the normal ambient music and when the blood gets pumping and you're like, yeah, adrenaline rush. One thing you might also do, I've done this before several times, theme songs to nations, non-player characters, ships, whatever. I mean, this can be a lot of fun. For example, let's say the guys go to a capital city and they visit the great holy cathedral. As they enter, you put on this song with hauntingly beautiful choir music, this unearthly sound. Immediately, before you even started to describe what the place looks like, the players get the feeling of the place. Again, they're in tune with it. They're like, okay, this is not just a huge building with a domed top and some holy men running about. This is someplace important and special and holy. And with theme songs for factions or NPCs, this can be great, because I've used this a couple of times where I surprise the guys with I've been using a certain song or certain types of songs for one NPC, and at a later point in the plot he shows up and I don't immediately tell them it's not immediately apparent who the NPC is. They're in disguise, or they haven't met him yet. They've just known that, oh, this person is in town who's doing this and that. But then I put the theme song on, and they get the feeling of like, oh god, damn, it's that same guy again. It can be a lot of fun. And if you have like a theme song to, let's say, the player's own great sailing ship, and you pick a theme song for that, something that fits the group and the ship and its role in the world. Again, great, evokes emotion. And if that ship happens to sink and you play that song at the moment that it's going down, wow, that's gonna make a huge impact. And if you play that song when the players happen to raise their precious ship from the deeps, even better. Now, overall, this using music can be challenging to the game master. It's yet another thing you have to keep track of. But after you've done this for a while, a couple of sessions, you will get the hang of it. And it shouldn't be something that you're constantly checking out and keeping an eye on. It's just that, you know, it's such an important tool that I wouldn't want to play a game, or well, maybe play a game, but wouldn't want to run a game without music in the background, because as a game master, it's one of the things that, in addition to the player's actions, keeps me going. It feels like there's always something in motion, helps me think. So, shouldn't be a diversion for the game master, though. Another thing related to music is sound effects. Now, they can be fun, but they should be used very sparingly. Like, there are some excellent websites that have streaming sound, where one of the things I've used is, I think it was natural ambient mixer or something like that. They have one of these presets there, which is like a sailing ship that has ship bells and creaking of the wood and fluttering sails, and I've used that sometimes, or storm ambient with rainstorm, thunder clamoring overhead. But again, these should be just the added spice. They should not be like constantly something you have to control and keep watch on. In conclusion, I'd like to say that if you haven't run a game with music, or if you hesitate on using it, I urge you to give it a try at least. But as I said, this means more work for you as the game master to prepare, to get the music, pick out the songs you want to use, strip away the ones you don't want to hear, and making those playlists. But if you're running on a laptop or a computer with at the table, that is, it's a great tool. And even if you're just using CDs, maybe burning them yourself, like, so that you can pick and choose. Again, it's such a great tool that I would heartily recommend it. Anyway, this has gone on long enough. Thank you very much for watching, and have a nice day, and have a musical game. Bye.